Joining me now exclusively is Eric Glyman, co-founder and CEO of Ramp. Ramp was number 6 on this year's CNBC Disruptor 50 list, also a Fort Knox alum. Eric, good to see you. Big numbers that you guys are putting up. Explain to us, those who aren't familiar with Ramp, the kind of innovation that you're trying to bring to, say, expense reports.
Yeah, of course. Well, John, it's so great to see you, and thanks so much for having me on. I imagine for most people listening to this segment, probably the worst hour of your month is having to do your expenses. If you use Ramp, all that is done for you. You tap your card. Your expense policy is embedded into the card itself. We'll collect the receipt from the merchant, write the memo, automate all the accounting. And so that radical simplicity, that much better experience is really turning heads, and what allowed us to go from a company that didn't exist 6.5 years ago to today, a company that is doing over $1 billion a year in revenue, doubling revenue year over year, and frankly, just helping our businesses and our customers run more efficient and more profitable companies.
What happens when you take that "should I pay for this" answer in software, extrapolate it out to the entire business, and add in AI agents?
Well, look, I think that there's a lot of excitement around AI for a lot of good reasons. I don't know that AI is smart enough to be a company's CFO, but it certainly can do your expenses. It certainly can categorize transactions. And it can also give you insights, too, about how to run your business a lot more efficiently. I mean, I think one way to think about it is this. Ramp helps businesses both through the automation of expenses, categorization of transactions, as well as showing you ways to spend less, helps the average business reduce their expenses by about 5%. And if you take an average American business that has a profit margin of 8%, mathematically, a 1% reduction in costs is equivalent to a 12% increase in revenue when you think about it. And so in some sense, every incremental dollar we're able to save is a huge flywheel on the productivity of companies. And I think that's a big deal. I think that's part of why so many businesses are coming and why we're growing so rapidly.
This is a very active space in a way that a lot of public market investors might not realize. You got names like Brex and Navan that are also trying to have an impact here when it comes to corporate expenses. Then you got Bill.com, which activists are latching onto this week, that's already public, trying to attack some of these problems. How do you see Ramp differentiating itself from those? What do you think is the golden ring that the winner here needs to grab?
Look, I think when you really zoom out, this industry has classically been the provenance of banks and financial institutions that have been around for 100, 200 years. As much as Ramp has grown, and Ramp is certainly the fastest growing, and I believe the largest by revenue of the names that you mentioned, and still the youngest of that set. Big picture, in corporate cards, we're something like 1.5% of the entire U.S. market. That is 98.5% to go. And I think that the difference is that we're not in the business of really selling cards or making bill payments. We're in the business of helping make sure expenses are doing themselves, that books are closing themselves, that it's easier to scale and run an organization leaner. And I think that's resonating. It's not a product, it's a service and a better outcome.
Does crypto matter to your customers?
We were actually proud earlier this year to announce, in partnership with Visa and Stripe, what's coming is the first stablecoin-backed cards. This is going to allow companies with international operations, multinationals, say something like companies like a Shopify or an Opendoor that maybe, or others that have operations around the world. Let's say they have subsidiaries in other countries. They can go and spend in local currency, and that can pull and net against a stable currency. So these companies don't need to hold funds in local currencies to pay things off. And I think that stable coins are still a small part of overall spend, but we want to be there to support companies no matter how they're spending.
When's the IPO?
Look, we're 6.5 years old and still growing. I think we're one of the fastest growing companies in the world. And so we're just focusing on serving more businesses. But I think great companies eventually do go public, then it's the rest of their life. We hope to be there one day in the future.
OK, but it sounds like not anytime particularly soon.
It's there's no set date or plans, but we're proud to serve hundreds of public companies and aspire to be one day too.